Okay, today I'm not getting on the webcam because I've been pretty sick with a cold and I don't feel like being on the camera when I'm not feeling well, so I'm just not going to do it. Um, and also, please excuse my voice if it comes and goes while I'm talking today. But we are going to talk about our crime scene sketches. And a lot of today's session is going to be work time, which is going to be awesome because you can literally get your crime scene sketch done today if you put your mind to it, okay? So I'm going to go through in detail. First, we're going to talk about just crime scene sketches in general. And then I'm going to go through you in detail what I require of you for this crime scene sketch assignment. And then I will let you get started on it and have lots of time for questions, okay? So our goals today are to develop a crime scene sketch. That's what we're going to be doing at the end of class. We're going to be looking at the importance of accurate notes and sketches and characteristics that make each valuable when documenting or reconstructing a crime scene. So why is a crime sketch important, and what are the important details in it? And then we're going to compare the documentation of a crime scene to the scientific procedures and develop notes about a possible crime scene, which you're going to do for your project part, okay? So when we do a crime scene, they're documented with, when we have a crime scene, we document them with notes, photographs, and sketches. So someone takes notes about the crime scene, someone photographs the crime scene, and someone sketches the crime scene. They have to be carefully documented because we need to know where every piece of evidence is and where everything was after the crime occurred. And then investigators take notes to record their observations, initial impressions, details of the scene, and witnesses' comments. So we're taking into account everything that we see and take in at the crime scene. And then they also photograph the evidence from multiple angles and ranges, as well as the overall scene. Okay? But tell me, why have a sketch? Why not just photograph the scene? What do you think? Are we going to be quiet this morning? Why not just photograph the scene? What would be the importance of having a sketch? Well, maybe, Michaela, but wouldn't you think it would be easier to miss things in a sketch than in a photo? I mean, that's possible. I think you're heading in the right direction. I just want some more detail. Okay. What makes evidence easier to see in a sketch sometimes, though, Michaela, or anybody else? Why would it sometimes be easier to see evidence in, labeling for sure, right? Because you can label it more easily in a crime scene sketch. What about the perspective of the sketch? And I want to hear from some of you other quiet people in class today, too. What about the perspective? What kind of perspective can we get in a sketch that we can't get from a photograph? Okay, angles maybe. What type of angle? Like, if you want to see the whole crime scene, I see some people, yeah, right? Like, you can't just take the roof, yeah, overhead, exactly. You can't just take the roof off of a place and fly a drone above it and take a picture, right? Like, maybe if you have a really tall ceiling in the room, but you're still not going to capture everything, right? So you can have like a overhead view of the sketch or like a generalized view of the sketch. What about like the fact that in a photograph, there's more details that you can't, you're right, as far as like the labeling. It's easier to kind of just point out things specifically in a crime scene sketch, okay? Good job. So this is the part that I find that people have the most difficulty with when we're doing our crime scene sketches when you're drawing your own. So it's really important that you pay attention to this part, okay? When you're plotting your sketch, you have to use coordinates to show where pieces of evidence are, all right? So we're going to say number one is a bullet casing in this case, all right? And when you do this, you want to give coordinates for where it is. And this is the type of coordinate that you're going to be using when we draw our own crime scene sketch. And this is called rectangular coordinates. So you pick the two walls that are closest to the piece of evidence. In this case, it's the north wall and the west wall. It's not confusing. It's really not. But I think people overcomplicate it, okay? So you pick the north wall and the west wall, and you're going to say the bullet casing was 1 foot from north wall and 2 feet from the west wall, okay? And the reason we pick walls to draw that to is that the walls aren't going to move. If you said it was 3 feet from the couch, well, what if somebody bumps up against the couch and moves it? All right. So we want to pick immovable objects. You will tell me which one is north, Michaela, but we'll get into that in a minute. You want to pick immovable objects to label your pieces of evidence. And another thing that you don't want to do, right, another thing that you don't want to do is pick like the north wall and the south wall, okay? You really want to use the ones that will make it a rectangle, all right? That's going to be easier to use, the two closest walls to the piece of evidence. Yeah, like X and Y. Well, actually it's not, because this side's longer than this one. So it would be a rectangle. Okay, we're not using this kind in our sketches, but this is another thing that investigators sometimes use when they're making a crime scene. So say you're outside, so you don't have any walls, right? You would pick two immovable points, like trees, and you would draw a transecting baseline between the two, so A and B, line between A and B. And then you're going to say, this bullet casing was found 3 feet from the transecting baseline. This knife was found, 4 feet from the transecting baseline. So you measure from that straight line to where the evidence is found. All right, third type is going to be triangulation. And again, using immovable objects, let's say this is a Walmart, you would say the piece of evidence was found 30 feet from the southwest corner and 35 feet from the southeast corner. That would help you to triangulate exactly where that piece of evidence was found. Do these all make sense to everybody? Kinda. What questions do we have? That's okay. I totally understand. I couldn't click on my mic for some reason just now. Sorry. All right. So we have 4 different types of crime scene sketches that we're going to talk about today. But hear me when I say this. We're not, for our project, you are not making me an elevation sketch and you are not making me a perspective sketch. It either has to be exploded view or like an overview floor plan. Okay. But we're going to learn about these two because they're important to learn about. And I'll say that again in a little bit. So here's what an overview sketch looks like. It's literally, if you were like flying a drone over something, that's what it would look like. So in this case, it's outdoors, so you can see things like the house. Yeah, a top-down view, exactly. You can see the garage here, the driveway. If this were indoors, it would look like a floor plan. All right, that's what our overview sketch would look like, would be like a floor plan. Elevation sketches are going to be like a side view. These are useful outdoors because elevation changes oftentimes outside. So you can see just kind of like a cut from the side of what the crime scene looks like. In this instance, the house would be up on the hill, and then we've got evidence all the way down to the water. So that's why an elevation sketch would be useful. Here's an exploded view, which is basically the overview, except for that it also includes the walls. Okay, why would the walls be important for us to include in a crime scene sketch sometimes? Yeah, blood spatter is one, and what's the other one that I'm thinking of? I mean, there's other things, obviously, but two very common ones. Reference for like blood spatter, and what's another type of common piece of evidence that you could find in the walls? Burn patterns, maybe. Okay, that would be a good thing in like an arson investigation. I'm specifically thinking about something. Deja's typing. I'm gonna see if she gets it. Hidden people, that's true. Yeah, bullet holes. Okay, so ballistics for sure. Ballistics and blood spatter, we'll get a lot of good uh, information using an exploded view sketch. I have heard of people being buried in the walls, but I don't know, how common that is. But definitely we can get ballistics information and blood spatter from drawing the walls. And you can see here, somebody asked if we label the walls. I'm going to have you draw a compass rose on it that at least points to north. So we know this is the north wall. Yeah. All right, and then perspective sketches are the most artistic kind. And I know that some of you guys have the ability to draw this well, but we are not using this kind for our crime scene sketch. Okay, a perspective sketch would be useful for something like a shooting near a car, or giving details about like a murder weapon. It's going to be like an up close, artistic, detailed view of something in particular. So in this case, we have important pieces of evidence on this car that you couldn't necessarily do like an overview sketch or something like that. I know, I'm sorry. I just need to be consistent with everybody. All right, so a lot of people are moving nowadays to computer-based sketches, and you can literally create entire 3D models of a crime scene on the computer so that you can do a total walkthrough of a crime scene on the computer. And yes, you can do these. Someone shared with me in the last class, let me see if I still have that link. I'm sure I do. Let me check my history because that's where I was just at. They shared with me a website. Oh, come on. Here we go. Okay. Okay. They shared with me this website. It's a 7-day free trial that you can use this computer software to draw your crime scene if you would like to. Now, what I will warn against is if I figure out that you used somebody else's crime scene sketch, that's not going to bode well for you, okay? But definitely you can use that software, that 7-day free trial, to help you form a computer crime scene if you don't want to draw it, okay? You could also use just like the paint application on your computer to draw a rectangle and circles and stuff, okay? Mostly yours is going to look like this. If you have this kind of technology, go for it. But it's going to mostly end up looking like this if you use your computer, okay? But these are useful because you can be at the crime scene on your computer, right? As long as you make sure that you include every detail. Investigators can use these detailed recreations to really study a crime scene without having to be at the actual location all the time. All right, so here are the actual instructions for your assignment. You're going to imagine that a crime has occurred in or around your home, or you can just make up a crime scene. And I'll tell you right now, the easiest crime to do this sketch for would be a murder. But you could also make it a break-in, a fight, like a body discovered in, and you probably want to do a house. That's going to be easier as well. Actually, just go ahead and do a house. It's going to save you a lot of headache, okay? And these are the things that are going to get you credit on your sketch, okay? So this is the most important thing here. If you do not label any of these things, you will fail the crime scene sketch, I'm telling you right now. So We talked about how details are important for a crime scene sketch, and that's why this is the most important part, okay? I don't care if you have artistic abilities, but Michaela, just make up an address, okay? Don't use your own address. So you're going to put the date, your name, the address, you're going to make that up. The names of any victims, you can make those up. The type of crime suspected, like was it a murder? Was it a robbery? Was it a fight? And then the name of the lead investigator. You can put your name, you can put my name, whoever you want to put for that. Then in the sketch, there should be a compass rose showing where north is. Yeah, that's a good one to use, Sesame Street. So just like I told you, you should draw this compass rose in your sketch somewhere to show me where north is, okay? And then the dimensions of the crime scene. So you would put like this wall is 8 feet, this wall is 5 feet, and you just draw it right next to it. 8 feet, 5 feet, or whatever. Yeah, you can use Elmo, absolutely. Okay, then you're gonna need some main objects. So you would put like, if it was the bathroom, you would put the bathtub, the sink, the toilet. You could put like a sofa, a coffee table. And I do not need a detailed drawing of these things. If you draw a circle and tell me that's a table, done. It's a table, okay? If you draw a rectangle and you tell me that's a sofa, okay, fine. That's a sofa, all right? I'm really not looking for detail when it comes to drawing those things. Shakayla, you are coming up with your own crime investigation. You probably won't be able to do it on a Word doc because you won't be able to draw shapes, I don't think. Yeah, detailed drawings are not required. Now, detailed information is absolutely required, okay? So you have your main objects, then you have at least 3 pieces of evidence labeled with numbers. So if I said there's a bullet casing here, I'll tell you in just a second, Shakayla. If I say there's a bullet casing here, then you're going to draw a bullet casing and you're going to put like the number 1 next to it, all right? Then you're going to, over on the side, draw what's called a legend. So pay close attention. This is a legend. So I have my bullet casing. I put the number 1 next to it. Then over here, I put 1 bullet casing. Okay? Then say you put a knife here. You could say knife. You draw 1. You put the number 2. Then over here, you put 2 knife. All right? That's your legend. Is out to the side. Okay? Then you're going to draw measurements locating each piece of evidence, and that's what this is, okay? So if your bullet casing is here, then you draw a line to the north wall, to the west wall, and you say 2 feet, you know, and then 3 feet over here. You want to give me detailed measurements using your rectangular coordinates showing where that piece of evidence is. All right, it's really not complicated. Don't overcomplicate it. But I'm going to be in here this whole class answering questions, okay? So we're going to, for this sketch, we're going to be using an exploded view or an overview sketch, just like I said. It should look basically like a floor plan, but you can also include the walls if you want to for an exploded view. And then you can make this on the computer if you would like to. When you are doing this, you can draw it on a piece of paper, okay? It can be computer paper, it can be construction paper, just as long as I can see it. Then you'll scan it in by either using a scanner if you have that. I mean, I doubt that you do. You could take a picture of it, or you can use an app on your phone that's called Genius Scan or Turbo Scan, okay? So you take a picture of it, or you use Genius Scan or Turbo Scan, and then you save that as a file, and you'll submit it to Canvas under the crime scene assignment. So your options for where you can do this are on a piece of paper, easy peasy, scan it in, submit it. Or you can use some sort of software like Paint or the one that I put in the chat. I'll put it again. And you can save it as a file and submit it that way. So if you do it on the computer, just save it as a file and submit it. If you do it on a piece of paper, take a picture, Yeah, there you go, and submit it that way. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to, let's see, can we do it on a paper? Take a pic. Yes, absolutely, Shakayla. That's exactly right. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and stop our recording, even though I know we're gonna have questions, but I don't want to record just me sitting waiting for you to have questions. So I'm gonna stop our recording here for today.